Hey guys, this is my very first comic book review audio version. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I've been reading Uncanny X-Men from the 1960s, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby stand and beyond. And so I have been loving this series, and I just wanted to give you guys a quick little review of what the story is all about and my thoughts upon it. The issues I'm reviewing are issues 32 and 33. Haha, actually around my age. This showcases the second encounter with the X-Men with Kane Marcos, aka the Unstoppable Juggernaut. And by the way, in the comics, he was not a mutant. At least, not at first. I personally loved the first page of this issue because it gives a tiny bit of backstory into how they came up with the actual design of the page. Because they didn't know whether to have Juggernaut rampaging after the X-Men or having them have fun. So they ended up deciding to do both. Really interesting little side note. Thank you, Stan Lee. May you rest in peace. Okay, the story starts off with the celebration of Bobby Drake, Iceman's birthday, at this hip happening little coffee shop, which shows up a couple of times in the comics. I think it's called Coffee A Go-Go. There we get to see a little bit more into the X-Men's personal life, with seeing Jean Grey and Cyclops getting a little close together, Angel's new friend / old friend, and this annoying Bob Dylan type poet that I just wish they would have not come up with. And then the story goes back to Charles Xavier in the mansion, where we find out that Kane Marcos, aka the Juggernaut, has been actually in the mansion this whole time since the last time they fought, underneath some kind of interesting coma. The comic goes in a little background of what actually happened for Juggernaut to get his powers. And Kane Marco found this gem of Satarak, which I love that name, Satarak. I can say it all the time. Satarak, Satarak, Satarak. Maybe scream it from the top of my lungs in a weird voice. Satarak! Yeah! Sounds like the guy from Cobra Commander. But anyways, he finds this gem that belongs to this demon that gives him mystical bands that allow him to have super strength, invulnerability, energy manipulation, and a shield around him and stuff. And so the X-Men end up defeating him with taking off this big helmet that stops any kind of psychic incursion in his mind. And so ever since then, he's been kind of in a coma-like state in the X-Men's basement. Basement. And then the story goes a direct turnaround. The weirdest part of the story happens, where a biker gang comes in pretty much to attack one of the X-Men's girlfriends and say, hey, you said no to dating me, so I'm gonna get you, girl. Who do you think you are? Which was so weird, and it was so random. But what was cool was that all the X-Men besides Cyclops were able to use their powers in front of people kind of covertly to stop this biker gang from pretty much terrorizing people. Then the story ends up going back to the X-Mansion, where Xavier is trying to probe Kane's mind to try to save him from this kind of mystical power that's over him. Which pretty much he tries to do like a mental exorcism of this spirit that's over him. But then of course, as we all know, that would not work. And so his mental power somehow gets transferred into Kane's body, which is weird storyline. I don't understand how that happens, but somehow all of a sudden Juggernaut can read people's thoughts. Wow. which actually leaves Charles Xavier in a coma-like state, left behind alone in the basement of the X-Men mansion. But then, of course, the story has to go back to the students, and we get a nice little romantic scene of Bobby's girlfriend, who was actually the one that rejected the biker, gave a little kiss. Aww, that's adorable. That's about as romantic as you can get in the 60s. With the whole comics code thing. See, personally, I don't really get into these extra characters as much as I really get into Jean and Cyclops' relationship. It's because I know the cartoon, I know the movies, I know the history that it's there, and let's just say their romantic story is way more interesting than a couple little kisses that each character gets. So, of course, the story continues, and Warren Worthington, aka the Angel, ends up going to the mansion, and it's all dark and foreboding. So he goes to check who's there. But then, bam, he's about to fight Beast himself. And so the X-Men are like, whoa, don't do that. And then somehow Cerebro starts going off, which I don't understand really what Cerebro is supposed to be at this time. I know what it turns out to be and what it develops into, but I don't really know what they're actually trying to have Cerebro be at this time. It just seems like they're adding little bit by little bit what Cerebro actually is. It doesn't even seem like the X-Men 100% know what Cerebro actually does. And sometimes neither does Professor Xavier. So Cerebro pretty much considered the X-Men a threat and somehow fell down. And the X-Men said, how the heck did that happen? And they're like, oh, it might have happened in the basement. And so they try to go down the basement, but then of course the stairs turn into slides. And they're like, we're falling. But then of course, they don't die. Dang it. Not today, Satan. Nah. One of my favorite phrases. So being the Mr. Hotshot he is, as I like to call him, Angel tried to see who was hiding behind the boxes in the basement, and bam, it was the Juggernaut. And he came out like, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Exactly how they had him do it in the movies. So this is where they got it from. Wrong. Actually, a little side note, they actually got it from this really funny group of guys that did abridged versions, which is pretty much bad lip reading of videos, and they took the original X-Men cartoon series and they made Juggernaut say, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch, and the fans loved it so much that they put it in the movie. Oh my goodness, a little information for you guys. Well, continuing on with the story, the X-Men fought Juggernaut, and guess what? Juggernaut fought back. Each one of them was beaten up really badly, and he thought he won. That's why this is a two-parter story. Hello, people. So it ended up where he ended up beating the X-Men, and he was all hot-shotty about it, him being the Juggernaut. And he's like, oh, I don't need to go finish them off. They're pretty much dead. But him breaking through certain things actually opened up a water pipe and actually woke them up, which is oddly enough, I would think that water would not wake them up since they're unconscious. But that's a whole other thing. I would think they would drown and maybe die. But no, of course not. Stan Lee would not let his characters die. At least not now, since they're just being popular. So that's it, you guys. I'm sorry I could not do number 33 because the runtime is going really long on this video. But I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys want more. If you do, please give me a hearts, give me a like, give me comments, tell me more that you want to hear, more you want to not hear, be respectful and share, of course. All right, God bless. Have a good night and good evening and good day, whatever time you listen to this.